Well, here we are with Dr. Tumi Johnson. It's a pleasure to have you here, sharing with us at the RawAcademy.tv.
Yeah.
Could you introduce yourself a little bit?
It'd be my honor, Christabel. My name is Tumi, and I'm a medical doctor. I specialize in internal medicine and integrative holistic medicine. I'm also a professional dancer and work as a yoga instructor.
Amazing. And you were graduated with honors from the Vanderbilt University.
Yes, exactly.
Amazing. Could you tell us about your experience working in the Amazon, for example?
My pleasure. I had the opportunity to be in the Ecuadorian Amazon working with an Ecuadorian physician, a woman who has such an amazing understanding of the plants, a botanical specialist, and also a shaman. And I spent a month there working with them, taking care of the Shuar Indians, and they would come and navigate between these three very different types of medicine: Western medicine, plant-based medicine, and also shamanic medicine. And it was such an honor for me to see that, because it really helped me start thinking of how I can incorporate different types of medicine together. That I didn't just have to do Western medicine, and that also a lot of people have an intuitive knowledge of what they need, and they're able to navigate different types of therapy, and these different types of therapy can be really beneficial.
And how are you using specifically all this knowledge in your work now in New York?
That's a great question. You know, my specialty, because I spent so much time, I did medical school and then residency. My training is I have good training in diagnostic medicine. So that means I use my eyes, my hands, my stethoscope to be able to figure out part of what's going on in a biochemical, physiological manner. But I also have 20 years of doing yoga, and now as a yoga teacher, I incorporate yoga with diagnostic medicine and then nutrition, because nutrition has been very important to me in healing some of my issues. But also I had a chance to study it and work in a malnutrition clinic in West Africa with Doctors Without Borders. So using those three different elements, yoga and meditation, nutrition and diagnostic medicine together, that is how I have integrated for my patients.
You're amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful. And how are you combining like the common, how do you say, the common medicine, like the allopathic medicine, with all these knowledges? Because one of the things that you are sharing here at the Woodstock Food Festival is that how to put together the allopathy and the holistic medicine.
For me, I'm one of those people, I really believe in finding the underlying root of someone's disease, not just using medications, not just even using herbs. People sometimes will go to an herbalist to suppress the symptoms also. I believe in really finding what's the underlying cause. So for me, the way I combine these three things and combine allopathy with holistic medicine, I use the allopathy to help me diagnose. Okay. So I look at blood work. Again, I use hands and stethoscope to diagnose maybe. So I use that part of allopathic medicine to diagnose the problem. But then I use lifestyle changes, especially nutrition and movement and yoga, to help heal the underlying cause and avoid medications. Because for me, many times medications are just quieting the symptoms, but they don't address the underlying root.
Of course.
And for me, that's extremely important. If somebody wants sustained relief from their problem, you know, you can take a medication and feel better for maybe a couple hours, days, even maybe months. But if you haven't addressed the underlying reason of what's happening, very often it comes back again.
Of course, you are not healing anything, just the symptoms.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that is very important. What about in Europe? Because I think that in Europe the herbs are not are forbidden. Someone told me about that.
The herbs being forbidden?
Yeah.
You know, in Europe there's actually more of an openness, at least compared to America, of a lot of the homeopathic practices. So I think if you're seeing a homeopathic healer, they do use a lot of tinctures and herbs. Homeopathy is not the same thing as naturopathy. It doesn't mean they're necessarily giving you herbs. They're giving you a certain, usually a tincture or a certain preparation that sometimes uses herbs. So if you go to a homeopath, you may be getting herbs in that form. And actually, my experience is that Europe is often a lot more open, at least at this point, to that than the United States.
And it's very important to understand that allopathy is good if you use it in the right way.
Exactly. To me, it's all about how you use a certain healing modality. Acupuncture, herbal medicine may be used in a way that is not healthy if, again, you're not addressing the person's underlying problem. You know, medications, for me, the problem with medications, the side effects, the interactions with different other medications can be a problem. But if you're using medications for a very short period of time as a bridge, as well as understanding and addressing the underlying issues, sometimes they can be helpful. One example I can give you is somebody who is in excruciating pain, and sometimes pain can actually cause physiologic changes in your body that can be more of a problem for you in the short term. So for short term, if you give them a pain remedy, whether it's a salve or poultice, whether it's a medication like Tylenol if they don't have any liver issues, for short term, while you address the underlying reason for their pain, you know, that's a way to use it properly.
Of course. And what is the reaction of your colleagues seeing you doing that in that way?
You know, I have had more and more support, and a lot of my colleagues, I have some wonderful colleagues and who are now my friends and I trained with, and there's an increase in consciousness on all levels. Many doctors in the Western medicine tradition are seeing patients come to them and saying, well, I have an acupuncturist or I have an herbalist. So doctors more and more are beginning to think, what's going on here? And I have actually a doctor friend of mine who is now studying integrative nutrition. And so I think, and I'm hopeful that there'll be more and more physicians exploring this. There's actually, I did my board certification in Integrative Holistic Medicine. So there are a whole group of doctors who are actually now studying this and board certified in this. I'm hoping there's more and more because there's a need for it.
Yeah,
definitely.
How are you feeling here at the festival?
I love it. I love it. I love it's unlimited, delicious, ripe fruit, but more than that, it's people who have been or are interested in this lifestyle, and it draws people who are very open, who are passionate about their health, but also passionate about connecting with other people, and makes for a really beautiful environment.
And that is part of the holistic health.
Exactly. For me, holistic health, you know, we've talked a lot about integrative health, so using different modalities, but holistic health to me is about addressing not just the body but the mind and the spirit, and part of mind and spirit is community, and having this kind of community is amazing. And a lot of times you can be an integrative doctor, an integrative nurse, an integrative practitioner, and you're using different modalities. You're doing shamanic medicine, herbal medicine, but you're not addressing the entire being. You're not addressing their mind, their spirit, their body. You're just addressing their body.
Of course.
And to me, that's integrative medicine, but it's not holistic medicine.
Yeah.
And to me, the goal really is integrative and holistic medicine to really support healing and true joy and peace, I think.
What do you think about ayahuasca?
Ayahuasca. I have a personal experience with ayahuasca. I experienced ayahuasca in the Ecuadorian Amazon, and the shaman we were working with was using it as a way to divine certain things about his patients. It's a hallucinogenic, but it has a long history of being used by shamanic healers, and for that I respect its use. I think it should be used judiciously because I think it should be used in its sacred form as they use it there. But
you think that it, in some way, it awakes consciousness? If you use it in the right way with the right person?
I think if it's used in the right way with the right person, it can. I think, again, you have to be judicious because a lot of people may think they're ready for those things and they're not. Shamans, it's almost like a calling, it seems. The shamans I've had the privilege of meeting, these people, they are on a whole conscious level is amazing. So I think their use of ayahuasca, they're able to use it in a way that is not abusive to their body or their spirit. And I think a lot of us may not be at that level and know how to use it properly. But it's very powerful, like many plants are.
I know, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And what about food?
Food. What about food? For me?
Do you think that raw food is the path that we should follow?
I have to be honest, raw food for me has been very healing on many different levels. But I very much believe in respecting and honoring individuals where they are. I think some people reach amazing levels of consciousness and raw food never enters the picture for them. But they can be amazingly healed and they may be amazing healers. I have witnessed raw food in this community and other communities be incredibly healing for a lot of people, but I don't think it's the only way. And I think that it all depends on where you are in your journey. Raw food, I think for me, 10 years ago would not have been what it is now for me. I wasn't ready for it in some ways.
Of course.
Yeah, if that makes sense.
Of course.
Yeah.
And at the end, it's about flexibility.
Exactly.
Respecting the moment of our life.
Exactly. I'm so glad you mentioned. I think what we need more of is flexibility, honoring each other, less judgment, as opposed to a dogmatic rule of how things should be.
Yeah.
Because I think the more we get away from that, the more we naturally go to what heals us, whether it's raw food or something else.
Yeah.
To me, that's the most healing thing we can do as a planet, as a community. A planet is less judgment, less rules for each other, and just, like you said, flexibility and accepting people where they are. If there's more of that, to me, there's nothing, I don't know if there's a greater healing potion than that.
Absolutely. And talking about food, how do you see Africa?
How do I see Africa? Well, Africa, has a special place in my heart. I'm originally from Nigeria. I spent a lot of my childhood there. I've done medical volunteer work there extensively.
Because in some way, like raw food or healthy food is more linked with wealth people or something.
Which is so ironic because if you go to many parts of Africa and many African communities, the wealthy people are the ones who can afford meat and cheese and processed foods. The people who are eating the natural foods are the poorer people. But what's sad about it is that because meat and these foods are linked to wealth, people are striving for that. They want to say, I can bring chicken and I can bring meat to my family because this is equated with wealth. And there is less respect for the roots from the ground, from the fruit in the trees, and these are the things that are actually the most healing.
Absolutely.
And what's interesting is actually a lot of times in terms of health and robust health and physique and the body, if you look at the farmers as opposed to wealthy people in a lot of these communities, it is the farmer that actually has a more healthy constitution. Now, they may not have potable water to drink, they may not have good places for waste, and that is then what brings disease to these communities. But in terms of the food they eat, sometimes they have the most nutritious available to them. So I think there needs to be a reframing in a lot of our communities, not just in Africa, and a lot of other communities, about the idea that fruit, the earth, what Mother Earth gives us is actually what is the most healing.
Actually, it's very funny how people can pay a lot of money for a chocolate, and a mango is the same price. Now it's so expensive. Like,
yes, so true. That's such a good point.
And well, it's very amazing that Tumi is the god of it's not just health; it's the god of medicine to the Incas. Yes, that is beautiful.
You shared that with me, and it's funny because people who have visited, I've not had the opportunity yet to visit Incan tribal land, but they come back with Tumi and they would explain different things to me, but they never explained that to me. You explained it to me so well. In Yoruba, where my name comes from, my full name is Oluwatumininu, and that means God has given me comfort, and Tumi actually means comfort.
Beautiful.
And so I hope, I mean, for me, my work dream is that my dance and my holistic practice is a comfort, a conduit for spirit, to be a comfort, to elevate people. And so I think of that often about that name. But thank you for sharing this with me too.
On, please.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Well, I am so grateful for being here, sharing with you, and hopefully we will share somewhere again.
I would love that.
Hopefully you can come to South America to share your experience.
I would be honored to do that.
Your Spanish is perfect then.
Muchas gracias. But I want to say that my intuition has always been very good, and it's been lovely to meet you. Your spirit is so beautiful and so radiant and so warm, and I think the work that you do, I haven't had the chance to actually even taste your food yet, but I know, because I think food is imbibed with the energy of who prepares it. I am the best chef in the world. But I think that your work is also so healing. Doing this work, even just speaking and witnessing, but definitely preparing food for others, that to me is one of the strongest medicines.
And I think it's very important to be healthy as well, like to be conscious about what we are doing is not just to ourselves, is to the community.
Yes.
Then the ego is not part of that.
It's not about us.
And there, and at that point, there's no fear or I don't know, nothing, like just love.
Yes. Thank you, Christopher. Thank you so much.
Thank you, dear.
It was so fun. Yeah.